Hello, good afternoon. Let's start. Talking to people after the class last time. Hello, am I on there? Hello? Talking to people after class last time, two things became apparent to me. One is that the essay is coming up, and I guess most of you guys are thinking practically about what on earth am I going to write for this essay? Is that a reasonable question to have at this point? And the other is that we've covered a lot of remarkably confusing material very fast. That's my impression. Is that your impression, or has it been boringly slow? Or put up your hand if it's been boringly slow. Okay, well that was all right. That's fairly clear. So I thought also today I might try and review stuff a little bit, but the point of my review is not so much to. The point of my review is more to give you a peg to hang questions on. So if there's stuff that's been confusing you the whole way through, I really hope you'll feel free to raise questions and so on. So I hope this will be a bit more interactive. These lectures are what in the trade they call heroic lectures, and it's not at all clear that that's pedagogically very good, but it's difficult to do it any other way in this kind of structure. So we might try and loosen it a little bit today and see how it goes. So remember that on your essay, you're going to have to state the main thesis for which you're going to argue, and then explain how you've been arguing for it. So what I thought I might do later on in today's session is pick on people, call on people, particularly people who don't usually raise a whole bunch of questions, and just find out what people are thinking of as the thesis that they might want to argue for, mainly because it would be interesting, but also to start thinking about what you'd actually do in working through one of these essays. Okay, is that a plan? Okay, so let's start out with dualism, and the idea of different levels. It's often said that, either mind and body are distinct, or at any rate, when you describe a person in terms of their brain and behavior and so on, when you describe them physically, when you describe them scientifically, the mind and the brain are descriptions of the person at different levels. I mean, whatever exactly that means. And the way we came into that was through this contrast between imaginative understanding of other people and scientific explanation of what's going on with people. So imaginative understanding seems really important when you're interacting with other people, when you're evaluating other people, when you're saying, was he being mean to me? Was he trying to get at me when he said that? When you're thinking like that, you're trying to get inside the other person's head. What was in their mind? You get at that by putting yourself in their shoes. And if you're making plans for your future life, that kind of imaginative understanding seems really important too. When you think, well, what it will be, suppose I go on to work as a lawyer, for example, what will that be like? Will I like it? Will it be fun? Or if you're trying to remember what life was like when you were 6, then what you're trying to do is recover the feel of life then. That kind of imaginative understanding seems really important in everyday life for your moral assessment of other people, or just knowing how to get on with them, and for thinking about your own plans. And it seems different to scientific explanations of what people are doing in terms of laws governing their brains, laws governing their behavior, associative conditioning governing the way behavior responds to rewards, that kind of thing, or, as we were talking about, functional organization. So let me just ask you at this stage, is that pretty clear, that distinction between two ways of understanding, two ways of comprehending what's going on with people? Put up your hand if that's plain as day. You're pretty sure you have that, what that means at this point. And if you don't? And if you don't understand the question? Okay, good. So we had these 3 examples that really seem to write up the distinction large. But the initial point of these examples is to make this distinction inescapable. When you've got the bat, you can have a complete scientific understanding of the bat. Science could study the bat forever without humans ever being able to get an imaginative understanding of what the bat's mental life is like. You could study bat sonar forever without being able to imagine or visualize or whatever the word would be, sonarize what it's like being a bat. Yeah? That seems unmistakable at this point. And similarly with the split brain patient, we understand in many ways what's going on with split brain patients perfectly well. It's not that difficult a phenomenon. I mean, the details are very interesting and the details are very puzzling, but they can be figured out. But imagining what's going on in the mind of a split brain patient when they look at a visual display seems almost impossible. Or Jackson's Mary makes the same point in a different way, that Mary can have complete scientific knowledge of the world around her, but she doesn't know what it's like to see the colours. She can't imagine seeing the colours. So scientific explanation could be complete without you having the slightest idea what's going on when someone sees the colours, or what's going on in the mind of the split brain patient, or what's going on with the bat. So I have a question for you at this point. When we've got that distinction between imaginative understanding and scientific explanation, so a natural question to raise right here is, are these different ways of comprehending the same thing? I mean, is there just one thing here, the person, and you get two different ways of getting at it, namely via imaginative understanding or via scientific explanation? Or is it that there are two different things here? There's the soul on the one hand, and you get at that by way of the imagination. And then there's the body, and you get at that by way of science. These are two different pictures of what's going on. So let me just ask you, I mean, please don't be shy about that. I wish we had clickers, actually. Next time I do this class, I'm definitely going to do clickers. But although it's not anonymous, there is no shame. I mean, there's no shame attached to giving any one answer rather than another. So please do not be risk-averse about this. What do you think? Is it one and the same thing, the person being understood, as we say, at different levels when you talk about imaginative understanding? Put up your hand if you think. Do you have a question? Okay, put up your hand if you follow his lead. Put up your hand if you think the answer is yes. Is one and the same thing being understood at different levels, now by imagination, now by science? Okay, and if you think that's not the right answer? Okay, so I would put that at a slight majority of yes to no. Any questions about that? Any comments? If you didn't vote there, then I'm really curious why not. What's your gut? Yes?
I wasn't sure because I didn't know how we were defining person.
Okay, I wasn't defining it. That is part of my art, right? But if you're cagey about person, then for present purposes, we could say human being, right? The unit, right? This, I don't know what to say. Here I stand, right? If it says no more than 9 people in the elevator at any one time, right? That notion of person. Well, yeah. If it says no more than 120 people in the room because of fire regulations, however you count people there, right? Yeah, biological comes psychological unit. Okay? Do you want me to take the vote again? No, I don't know if you'd call that clarifying, but okay. So let's do that again. If the answer is yes, is the one thing, the person, there's just one thing, just in the sense that you'd count all of us and say and use names, like you say, Jacinta is a great athlete and a brilliant mathematician. You see what I mean? That's the mind and the body, but you don't say, well, there's two different things there, colloquially. It's just one thing. Yeah. So if the answer is yes, and if the answer is no, for some reason the no vote's gone way down after that. Okay, so let me just frame that a different way. If you've got imagination and you've got scientific explanation, then are there two different things there? The body and the soul. The body being understood scientifically, the soul being understood by way of the imagination, and they're being understood in different ways. So it's two different objects, not just one thing here, but there are two different things. Yeah. Put up your hand if you think that's the right description. Yes. Some of you are voting for both. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you saying that in this example, the soul and the body are like completely separate?
They're completely separate. I mean, they may be influencing one another, but they're just different things. Yeah. Yes?
If one were to answer no to this question just because we don't believe that the body is I would say no, just because I don't think that they would be two separate things. But if my answer no might be interpreted as me saying that they cannot be compensated in different ways.
That's really good. It's very natural to say that, but I don't see how it can be right. Yeah, because if there's only one thing there, then it must be one thing being comprehended in different ways. Yeah, it can't. You can't have it both ways. Yeah, this is really a crux. This is very important actually in how you think about the whole issue. Yeah. So, but it's clear what the suggestion is: body and soul, two different objects. The reason it's imagination versus science is imagination is appropriate to the soul, science is appropriate to the body. Can you put up your hand if you think that's the right answer? If that's yes. Hi. Hi. Okay, and if you think the answer is okay, it's about 3 or 4, and if you think the answer is no. I really don't understand why people are abstaining. Why? Anyone who abstained wants to... I mean, is it that you don't believe either of them and you believe some third option? Yes?
Yeah, I think there could be many more different kinds of things.
Yeah, all right, there might be 3 or more. That's fair enough. Philosophers find it very hard to deal with more than 2. But you're right, there's no real reason there shouldn't be many more. Yeah, so I agree that's not ruled out. Yes?
Just a question, so it would be compatible with thinking that you're talking about the person, either through imagination and science, while thinking that our psychological states are more than just brain processes or behavior, for example.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I'll come on to that in a second, but that's right. Yeah, that's very important. So is it clear what Umar was saying? Well, let me play back to you what I think you're saying. That you could say there's just one thing here being understood in 2 different ways, while also thinking that there's more to your psychology than just brain processes. Yeah? Okay, so with that clarified, would that harden up the vote for 1? Yes? Right, it would get Umrah's vote anyway. Right. And yours. Or do you have a question? Okay. Any other comments in this way of framing things? Is this reasonably clear at this point? Yeah. Yeah, the soul would be the same thing as the mind, and it would be different to the body.